New details now about a used car dealer in Snellville accused of hiring a hitman to kill his ex-girlfriend and business partner. Today, Stoney Williams is behind bars.
Royal Court Motors, hurry! I need your help. My girlfriend's hurry! Hurry again! She's been shot! Hurry! Okay. She's gone, man. I can tell. She's gone.
Let me tell you something. This man was such a professional gaslighter. He had the detectives questioning their own sanity. While his girlfriend was laying in a pool of blood, this fool was on the phone fake crying, pointing fingers, and playing victim so good that even the police felt sorry for him. Girl, the audacity. But here's what's really gonna make your blood boil. While the hitman got life in prison, the man who planned everything served barely a year behind bars. Like, make it make sense. How you gonna orchestrate your baby mama's murder and walk away with probation? Stay with me, because we about to expose how Stoney Williams turned manipulation into an art form and how the system let him get away with it. Now, before we get into this mess, let me paint you a picture of who Courtney Owens really was. At 34 years old, this woman was living what most of us would call goals. She was a successful businesswoman who co-owned Royal Court Motors, a thriving used car dealership in Snellville, Georgia. And y'all, this wasn't just any little corner lot. This was a real business that was making real money. But here's the thing about Courtney that's gonna make this story even more heartbreaking. She wasn't just focused on getting that bag. This woman was a devoted mother to her 12-year-old son. And I mean devoted. Everything she did, every business decision she made, every late night she spent at that dealership was for him. She was trying to build something that would secure his future and give him every opportunity in life. You know how we do. We work twice as hard to make sure our kids have what we didn't have. For several years, Courtney had been in a relationship with her business partner, 41-year-old Stoney Williams. Now, on paper, these two look like the perfect power couple. Two ambitious black entrepreneurs building an empire together in Georgia.
Listen, Atlanta, you gotta hurry up and get out here. To the king of deals, we out here in Snellville matching your down payments. This is the last week I'm doing this. I'm running out of money, no matter what. Come out and see us as soon as possible. We're matching your down payments up to $1,400. So you bring me 14 and I magically turn it into 28.
Stoney was charming, he was successful, and to everyone watching, he seemed to genuinely care for both Courtney and her son. To the outside world, they had it all. Love, money, and a business that was thriving. But y'all already know how this goes. When something looks too perfect from the outside, there's usually some mess happening behind closed doors. And honey, the mess that was brewing between Courtney and Stoney was about to turn deadly. So here's where things started going left. Courtney had made two decisions that were about to change everything. First, she wanted to end the romantic part of her relationship with Stoney. Now, she wasn't trying to be messy about it. She was willing to stay friends and keep the business relationship professional. But as far as being his girlfriend, she was done with that chapter. Second, and this is probably what really set him off, she wanted out of the car business entirely. Courtney was ready to start fresh, to build something new for herself and her son. And look, this should have been simple, right? People break up every day. Business partnerships end all the time. Normal people figure out how to split things up and move on with their lives. But Stoney Williams was not normal people. See, for Stoney, Courtney's decisions represented something he couldn't handle, a loss of control. And baby, when a controlling man starts losing his grip, that's when things get dangerous. What Courtney didn't know was that this man had been monitoring her every single move. We're talking tracking her phone, following her around, keeping tabs on her personal life in ways that went way beyond what any ex-boyfriend should be doing. Courtney was starting to feel like a prisoner in her own life. She was constantly looking over her shoulder, never knowing when Stoney might just pop up somewhere. And you know that feeling when you feel like somebody's watching you? That's exactly what she was going through. In the days leading up to December 9th, 2022, Courtney had started confiding in her friends about her fears. She was telling them about strange incidents, about feeling watched, about her phone acting weird. She was telling them about Stoney knowing things he shouldn't know about her private business. But even in her worst nightmares, she could never have imagined how far this man would go to keep her under his control. Because here's the thing about men like Stoney, if they can't have you, they'll make sure nobody else can either. So what did this man do? He reached out to a young brother named Wesley Vickers, who went by Draco on the streets. This was a 23-year-old with a criminal background who was desperate for money. And Stoney, he presented Draco with what seemed like an easy payday for $15,000, the exact same amount he was supposed to give Courtney to start over. All Draco had to do was walk into the dealership and make it look like a robbery gone wrong. Stoney even had the perfect alibi planned out. He would be away from the dealership, running errands, completely removed from the scene when it happened. But y'all, Stoney's instructions were specific and brutal. He didn't want Courtney roughed up. He didn't want her scared. He wanted her dead. Moving on to December 9th, 2022. This was the day Courtney was supposed to meet with Stoney to finalize their business separation and collect that $15,000 he had promised her to start over. She was walking directly into a trap that had been months in the making. And the crazy part, she had no idea that the money he was promising her was the same money he was using to pay for her assassination. At exactly 2:29 p.m. on December 9th, Courtney Owens walked into Royal Court Motors for what she thought was just a regular business meeting. She was there to collect that $15,000 Stoney had promised her, the money that was supposed to help her start over. But what she didn't know was that same $15,000 had already been promised to someone else for a completely different purpose. Just minutes before Courtney arrived, a tall, slim man dressed entirely in black had entered the dealership. This fool had on a COVID mask that covered his face and was carrying a rifle across his body. Now, there was a customer in there waiting to buy a car, and when he first saw this masked figure, he thought maybe it was security or somebody with legitimate business there. But something felt off. The atmosphere in that dealership changed the moment this mysterious figure appeared. The customer who was there finalizing his paperwork started getting nervous, watching as this masked man made his way toward the back of the dealership, moving like he was on a mission. When Courtney walked into the building, she was completely unaware of the danger that was literally feet away from her. She was on her phone, focused on her business, walking toward the back of the dealership where she was supposed to meet Stoney. But instead, she encountered something else entirely. And this is where it gets chilling. That customer who witnessed everything heard Courtney call out a name that would become crucial to this whole investigation.
2 minutes later, she went over there and said Draco or Clayco, called him that, Draco or Clayco.
Yeah.
And she was on the phone still, walked back there, and then after like 30 seconds or whatever they were talking about, he said, get on the ground. But it was so calm, like it didn't even seem like it was real. And she got on the ground, and then I heard the shot. As soon as I heard the shot, I just took off running out the door.
The witness later told police. The sound was so shocking that this man immediately ran out of the building, almost getting hit by a car trying to get to safety. He didn't even look back. But here's where Stoney's manipulation game really kicked into high gear. Just minutes after that gunshot, guess who called 911? That's right, Stoney Williams himself, claiming to be Courtney's distraught boyfriend who had just discovered her body. Y'all, Stoney's performance on that 911 call was Academy Award level. This man sounded genuinely devastated, genuinely shocked by what had happened. He was playing the role of the grieving boyfriend so well that when the police arrived, they were ready to comfort him. When paramedics and police got to Royal Court Motors, they found Courtney laying on the floor, shot once in the right side of her head with a .556 rifle. The scene was horrific, and while paramedics worked frantically to try to save her life, investigators immediately started looking for witnesses and evidence. They found that customer who had witnessed everything, and his account was detailed and chilling. He described the masked gunman and confirmed that Courtney had called out the name Draco right before she was shot. But it was Stoney's interview with police that really showed his manipulation skills. Playing that grieving boyfriend role to perfection, he told officers about the breakup, about that $15,000 he was giving Courtney, and most importantly, he just happened to mention a man named Draco who had been asking him for money. Like, how convenient is that? Listen to how smooth this man was.
We were breaking up, and it was an amicable breakup.
Yeah.
We had our ups and downs, but we were coming to a healthy conclusion to the We were being friendly, we were saying we're just gonna be friends. She didn't want to be in the car business anymore, which was fine. And she was like, I need some money to start over my life. And I was like, I just said, I'm going to give her 15 grand.
Yeah.
My lawyer drew up the paperwork for it and all this stuff.
But then he really started laying it on thick, telling police about how Draco had been desperate for money. Draco's on the run for some warrants or something like that. He hasn't been able to get a job no more and get no money, so he's been just trying to get money. Girl, the way this man was throwing Draco under the bus while playing victim was truly something to see. To the investigating officers, Stoney looked like the perfect grieving boyfriend. He was cooperative, he was emotional, and he seemed willing to do anything to help catch his girlfriend's killer.
Whatever you guys need from me for us to
Find him, get him, and convict him. I'm with it, bro.
He told police, even offering to give up his phone for investigation. But some of those officers had that gut feeling that something wasn't right. Like, why would somebody execute a woman in broad daylight and then leave without taking anything? If this was a robbery, where was the robbery part? And why was Stoney so quick to point fingers at Draco? The questions weren't adding up. Then the investigation took a dramatic turn when a detective from the nearby town of Fairburn reached out with some crucial information. She had been investigating a drive-by shooting that happened just one day before Courtney's murder at the house of one of Courtney's friends, where Courtney had been earlier that evening. And when they ran ballistics tests, same rifle. The same gun used in that drive-by was used to kill Courtney. Now, how is this supposed to be some random robbery when somebody was already targeting her the night before? But here's where we need to talk about that female detective because, honey, the way she handled this case had people in the comments going off. This woman was so convinced that Stoney was innocent that she was practically coaching him through his lies. She was giving away evidence over the phone, treating him like her friend instead of a suspect, and falling for every single thing he said. But anyways, moving on, because even with all of Stoney's manipulation, the truth was starting to come out. The man who stood to benefit most from Courtney's death was the same man playing the grieving boyfriend, and investigators were about to discover just how deep his deception really went. As the investigation got deeper, detectives started uncovering the web of lies that Stoney Williams had been spinning. The man who seemed so grief-stricken, so cooperative, so devastated by his girlfriend's murder was actually the mastermind behind her execution. The breakthrough came when investigators discovered that Courtney had been telling her friends about Stoney's disturbing behavior in the weeks before her death. She had told them that this man was tracking her every move, monitoring her phone, and showing up places where he had no business knowing she would be. When they dug into the phone records, they found the smoking gun. Somebody had cloned Courtney's SIM card, giving them access to all her texts, calls, and location data. And when they confronted Stoney about this, honey, his mask started slipping real quick.
On my phone, it said that my SIM card was changed. So I called T-Mobile, and T-Mobile stated that someone came to the store and got a new SIM card. And I think that that's how he got access to that information.
She told the detectives in Fairburn that someone had bought a SIM card like for her phone. Was that you?
It wasn't me, but I know about it.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I don't want to discuss that.
Oh, so now you don't want to discuss it. But you were so helpful before, right? But the most damning evidence came when Wesley Draco Vickers was finally captured after weeks on the run. This young man was facing a mountain of evidence, ballistics linking him to both the drive-by shooting and Courtney's murder, witnesses identifying him as the shooter. When faced with spending the rest of his life behind bars, Draco made a decision that would destroy all of Stoney's carefully crafted lies. He confessed everything.
My thing is, why would you do that? Why? You have no motive that I know of. Stoney is the only one who has a motive. And then guess what he did? Immediately threw your under the bus. He doesn't care about you. I'm the only one being real with you right now. So, let's start over. Give me the background. What's going on?
The detective told Draco, and that's when Draco broke down and told the truth. I was told that the crime need to get shot to send the message. This was a cold-blooded murder-for-hire scheme orchestrated by the man who claimed to love Courtney the most. According to Draco's confession, Stoney had hired him to kill Courtney for $15,000, the exact same amount of money Stoney was supposedly giving her to start her new life. But wait, it gets worse. But Stoney had made some critical errors in his planning. Remember those security cameras that he told police didn't exist? Well, a former employee came forward to expose that lie.
There was cameras everywhere. He made me charge batteries every week, so I know there was cameras. He took them down. There was cameras everywhere. He made me charge batteries every week, so I know there was cameras. He took them down.
So this man had systematically disabled every security camera on the morning of December 9th. He had also told his employee that if police came asking questions to say no comment and contact an attorney. Like, sir, that's not suspicious behavior at all. More evidence kept piling up. On the night of that drive-by shooting, Stoney had contacted Courtney multiple times and even visited her apartment, recording himself on video.
I come here looking for comfort after all we've been through. And you're not even here.
Really, babe, you got me out here knocking, and you're not even... Easy.
The manipulation and stalking had been going on for weeks. When investigators finally moved to arrest Stoney Williams, guess what happened? This man had packed up and disappeared. The grieving boyfriend act was over. He knew the walls were closing in, so he ran like the coward he was. For 3 long months, Stoney evaded justice while Courtney's family grieved and demanded answers. This man was out here probably thinking he had gotten away with the perfect crime, but karma has a funny way of catching up with people. He was finally arrested while playing golf in Texas. Playing golf, y'all. While Courtney's son was at home growing up without his mother, this man was out on a golf course living his best life. Wesley Draco Vickers was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He would never see freedom again, paying the ultimate price for allowing himself to become Stoney's weapon. But here's where this whole story becomes absolutely infuriating, and I know y'all in the comments are about to lose your minds over this part. In March 2024, Stoney Williams managed to escape the full weight of justice through a plea deal. This man entered a plea for conspiracy to commit murder and got sentenced to 10 years. But here's the kicker. With 11 months already served in jail, followed by just 1 year of house arrest and the rest on probation, let me break this down for you. The man who orchestrated the cold-blooded murder of his girlfriend, the mother of a 12-year-old boy, walked out of that courtroom essentially a free man after serving barely more than a year behind bars. Make it make sense. The trigger man gets life without parole, but the mastermind, the man who planned every single detail, who manipulated everyone around him, who destroyed a family out of pure greed and control, gets to go home and rebuild his life. This case exposes everything wrong with how our justice system treats Black women. Courtney Owens was a successful businesswoman, a devoted mother, and a pillar in her community. She trusted Stoney Williams with her heart, her business, and her future. In return, he gave her a death sentence. Today, Courtney's 12-year-old son is growing up without his mother, robbed of her love, her guidance, and all the dreams she had for his future. No amount of justice could ever bring her back, but that lenient sentence adds insult to the most devastating injury a family could endure. This story is a chilling reminder that the greatest danger often comes from those closest to us. When love turns to obsession and control, the consequences can be fatal. Watch for the warning signs, the tracking, the monitoring, the inability to accept when a relationship is over. If someone in your life is showing these behaviors, please reach out for help before it's too late. Courtney Owens deserved to live. She deserved to see her son grow up, to build that new life she had planned, to find real love with someone who would cherish rather than destroy her. Her legacy should be more than just another story of a Black woman failed by the system that was supposed to protect her. If this story taught us anything, it's that we have to look out for each other, because clearly we can't always count on the system to do it for us.